Hello and welcome to What's Your Take? I am Dayo Akintobi. The 2023 presidential elections have come and gone and a winner has emerged. The election umpire INEC has admitted that its much touted technology did not live up to expectations. This failure has given rise to challenges over the validity of the results, challenges that will eventually be adjudicated by the courts. Today's show will largely be spent on looking at how the elections were won and lost and the general outlook of the Nigerian public to the declared results. With me this morning, as always, is Iyetunde Afolabi, our newscaster. A very fine morning to you, Iyetunde. How are you today?
Good morning, Dayo.
Good. And how's the election season been with you?
Well, it wasn't much of a hassle for me, but I don't think others have the same to say about that concerning those that reside in Ikota, Ikate, the Lekki axis. So
you have your PVC and you voted?
Yes, I do, and I did vote.
Very good. What was your experience at your own polling unit, your area? Was it peaceful? Were there irregularities? Did the INEC staff arrive on time? All these issues that bedeviled the elections. How was it at your area?
For me, it was very easy. It took me less than 5 minutes. So I would say it was quite commendable for my area, my polling units.
Okay, brilliant. So what do you have for us this morning by way of news? I know everything is mostly revolving around the elections, but let's hear what headlines you have for us today.
The presidential and National Assembly elections of February 25th were one of the most keenly contested elections in the history of Nigeria's democratic journey. Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC was declared winner of the presidential election, with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar of the PDP coming in second, and Peter Obi of the Labour Party third. The failure of INEC's BVAS technology to electronically transmit election results from the polling units to the result viewing portal, IREV, and other irregularities such as late arrival of voting material and INEC personnel at the polling units has led to large-scale dissatisfaction with the conduct of the election. No less than 2 of the presidential contenders have vowed to challenge the declared results in court. As Nigerians prepare to go to the polls again on Saturday, March 11 to vote in governorship and State House of Assembly elections, there is great consternation about how well or poorly the process will unfold this time. INEC is assuring the voting public that it has addressed the issues that led to the lapses during the presidential poll and is confident of delivering seamless polls next Saturday. Our next big story is the Supreme Court's ruling that the old Naira notes should continue to be legal tender through December 31st, 2023. The Supreme Court of Nigeria, in a ruling delivered last week in the aftermath of the presidential election, has declared that the old Naira notes remain legal tender till December 31st and should continue to be used alongside the new notes. Will the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria comply with the ruling? The CBN claims that the old 1,000 Naira and 500 Naira notes have been destroyed already. How then can they be put into circulation? Meanwhile, traders are said to still be rejecting the old notes despite Apex Court's ruling. What, if any, impact at all will the Supreme Court's ruling have on easing the hardship being endured by Nigerians due to this cash shortage? Over to you, Dayo.
Thank you, Yetunde, for giving us the big stories of the past week. We will now take a short break and be right back to answer all these posers with our guests in the studio. Stay with us. Welcome back, folks. Thank you for staying with us. Joining me to give us her take on the big stories of the week is Eniton Oteju Ibironke, a social sector and development advocate. Welcome to the show, Eniton.
Thank you for having me.
Also with us in the studio today to give his take on the big stories that made the headlines last week is Babatunde Awobi, a transporter and distributor of LPG products. Thank you for joining us this morning, Babatunde.
My pleasure to be with you, Dayo.
Excellent. Well, let's get right into it. Let's take a deep dive into the issues. As we know, the primary discussion or talking point is the most recently done elections. We had the presidential elections last week. It was said to be a make or break for Nigeria. Eniton, how did you see the way the elections played out?
That's a very, very heavy question. And for me, I will be taking my viewpoint from the thoughts and reactions that we have seen across the country. Different people have had views. We've had people who say, like Iyetunde, who said our polling unit was good. But for a lot of Nigerians, it's mixed reactions with the results. It's also a lot of the people experienced hardships. It was difficult for some people to vote. Other people felt that things weren't done right. And for me, I don't know if I would say that this particular election for Nigerians was what we thought was going to be like.
Okay, Tunde, how did you see the election? Did you vote? You have your PVC. How did it work out for you in your area?
Well, my area was a little bit calm. Everything went all right. Kudos to INEC. They behaved very well in my area. But other areas in Lagos, very sad stories. Surulere, Etiosa, Oshodi, Ojo, all other areas like that. We think INEC should have done better. But fortunately, I give them 40%.
And unfortunately, as you said, well, the lapses that and the irregularities that more or less marred the election have now led to challenges. Tunde, how do you see? Of course, we know the winner emerged. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC has been declared the winner. But the second and the third placed contestants have cried foul and have said they're going to challenge the results in court. What do you think about that? Do you think the elections were free and fair? Do you think the results declared reflect the will of the Nigerian people?
Definitely not. Definitely not. It's proper for the contestants to challenge any results if they feel that they have been cheated out.
No, what do you feel? Do you think the results were
from
accurate?
The stories that we heard, the election was not fair at all. So it's left to INEC to have a rethink or whatever. The result has been, the winner has been declared, but it's left for the court. The court is Supreme. I think the Supreme Court has another power to clear whatever doubts.
Did you see any irregularities in your own area, your own polling units? Did you see anything that you think was untoward?
None. In my area was calm. We had everything, and there was no contest about the declaration of the result we had. But other areas, we have 20 local governments in Lagos. If about 6 or 7 are complaining of irregularities, then that means the election is not fair at all.
Eniton, how did you see the outcome, the results? How did you see, do you think the results reflect the will of the Nigerian people? Are you okay with what INEC has declared in spite of admitted irregularities?
Well, first, let's start with the fact that you said admitted irregularities. Then I would also say, what is democracy? Democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people. And in this particular situation, the people themselves who are supposed to be saying we are going to vote in who we want to lead us have cried out. Now that's the challenge or the good part of social media. So we're seeing that there's a lot of information that is going out there. We are seeing evidence, videos, we're seeing pictures, we're hearing outcry that what we got at where we voted for is not what has been put up by INEC. And we're also getting people say, simply put, what we believe that INEC was going to do for us was, as when we're done at the end of the day, put out the results based on the technology that was said to be used. And this is not what happened. So in that case, to answer your question, I would say that this particular elections and the results and the reaction of the people are not in tandem. There's a disconnect, very huge disconnect somewhere. And that is very obvious.
Yetunde mentioned when she was reading the news that this has been one of the most keenly contested elections in the history of our democratic journey. And there's a tendency to agree with that because we saw in the run-up to the election just how passionate and vibrant the competition was, especially among supporters of the major candidates. However, the INEC issue, primarily this thing about uploading electronically the results from the polling booth right at the polling unit, uploading it to the results viewing portal that failed, is casting a shadow over the whole election. Now, my question to you, Tunde, is do you think that since INEC had already kind of more or less staked the whole reputation of the election on this technology. Do you believe that when it failed to work, they should have stopped the announcement of the results, or they should have taken some other remedial steps to correct that failure?
Definitely. That should have been the first step to be taken by INEC. He said maybe hackers have gone in to hack the system, whereby the system, the result cannot be uploaded. Something went wrong somewhere. Nobody has come out to explain actually what happened. The result did not show the true, the result posted did not show the true winners. You hear one story or the other from the contenders that, look, I scored this figure here, we are seeing another thing. Well, I think probably the court will look into that, and I think judgment will be made accordingly. That's my take.
Enito, let's talk about the outcome, the results.
Yes, please.
There were a lot of unexpected surprises. In some cases, what they would even refer to as shockers. For example, Bola Ahmed Tinubu lost Lagos, President Buhari lost Katsina, the chairman of the APC lost his home state. I mean, there's upsets everywhere. 20 governors were unable to deliver their states to their presidential candidates. What does that say about the mood of the Nigerian people? Let's theoretically assume that those results are accurate. For the sake of argument, let's say those results are perfectly accurate. What does that outcome say about the mood of the Nigerian people, in your view?
Well, in my view, it says one simple word: change.
That's all.
Alas, it's interesting that the slogan or the whole premise upon which the ruling party stands on is change. But it shows to us and to me and to anyone at all that Nigerians simply want something to change. Nigerians are not satisfied with the state of affairs, and that's a challenge. If you have governance and the people that are governing are saying we are not satisfied with the outcomes of your governance, or we're not satisfied with the quality of life that we have, or we're not satisfied with how you are ruling us, and then they go to the polls and it shows that they do not bring back whoever it is or the party that was ruling before. Now, we knew Nigeria was pretty much, up until this elections, a two-party. I mean, we had other political parties, but we were pretty much a two-party nation. And not on paper, but in action. But for the first time, it wasn't a function of, either or. It was a function of, amongst, we have more than two options. And we're not just having more than two options, but we're not bringing back, we always had this idea that, the sitting incumbent governor, ruler incumbent party would usually get it, unless there was stiff opposition from the opposing party who was going to be able, and in this case, we didn't even see that. We saw a totally different ball game. And to answer your question in a nutshell, the results that came in, if we assume that they are accurate and they are right and we're not contending, simply shows us that people do not want things to continue as they are. They are unhappy, they are not pleased, they don't think that things are going right, and they want it to change. And at that point in time, there's a real issue.
Tunde, do you think the Naira scarcity and the fuel crisis played a role in how people voted? I mean, we were going through excruciating hardship in the country in the run-up to the elections. Do you think those two major issues that affected our well-being played a role in how people voted?
No, it did. Definitely. Definitely. The tension had risen beyond our own imagination that nobody will have believed that for 5 weeks we'll be short of Naira. The scarcity of Naira, petroleum products were non-available. The reaction of the people is the result that you have in the election. Period.
Interesting you would say that. So why don't we then go naturally from what you've just said to our next topic, which is the issue of the Supreme Court ruling last week about the Naira notes. The Supreme Court ruled last week that the old Naira notes should be allowed to continue to be legal tender until December 31st, 2023. That decision, of course, has brought more controversy, because some people are saying that the CBN has already claimed to have destroyed the 1,000 Naira and the 500 Naira notes. So where are the old notes going to come back from? But in addition, it's believed that there are still not enough new notes to go around everybody to satisfy demand. So Enito, the Supreme Court ruling, first of all, how do they enforce it? How do they, traders are already saying they're not going to accept the old
They're not.
naira. They're not going to accept it.
I still asked somebody yesterday. I said, "Oh, are you going to take this old 500?" I said, "No, that we don't. Let us see what will happen on Monday." I think that what we're having in Nigeria now is a crisis of all sorts. There's so who is in charge? What's the direction? Who's giving orders? Who is saying what? And then what laws are we even going by? Because now the Supreme Court says what the CBN has done is unconstitutional. It's saying redesign should not be done. And so at the end of the day, you start to ask yourself that, who said, then you have the president says A. So at this point in time, with the Supreme Court's ruling and the news around it now, so CBN as at a few days ago has said, we have not gotten any order from the we have not heard of this. But the Supreme Court says we have given this judgment. So we're in a situation where in the country, there's limbo. There's no old notes, because if you say you destroyed the old notes, where are they coming back from? But then there are no new notes in circulation. Because even as when the new notes were coming out, they're saying we don't have the ability to print more. So what does it mean? Are we going to actually remain cashless, or are we going digital?
Tunde, you are a transporter, so my sense is that you probably run a bit of a cash-intensive business.
Yes.
How has it been for you, this naira scarcity, you and your business generally?
It has been a very serious challenge. Originally, when it's only the currency that is available that people use in transporting themselves. So in a situation whereby you are not going to take it, what is going to be left? So originally, the order from the Supreme Court, I don't think it's going to work out. I don't think so. The government has an hidden agenda on what they want to do. But I believe strongly that after the election, by Monday, Tuesday, you start seeing the new notes. It's just to check the excessiveness of the politician in using money to buy votes.
But what was said was that the CBN didn't print enough. Where all of a sudden do they not get money to push out next week?
I really don't believe that story. I really don't believe that story. You can see from what happened last week, you can see that a little bit of respite came when they started all the banks started bringing out money. Even though it's not enough, 10,000, 5,000 to their customers. Last week was better. I believe this week will be much better.
Wasn't last week's infusion of cash on the basis of President Buhari's intervention that they should start distributing the 200 naira notes? Yes. Isn't that what made more liquidity available last week?
That really made the difference. But I can assure you that there will be a remarkable improvement the moment the election is over.
Enito, the government generally seems to want to push us in the direction of cashlessness. A lot more people are doing transfers now.
Yes.
Even traders and petty traders and all, which of course has overloaded the infrastructure and the backbone. But the point is, do you foresee a time when cashlessness will actually be efficient in the country, where it will be the order of the day, where your downfall conductor will have a POS machine in his vehicle, where the plantain seller on the street will have an account number on her basket where you can transfer to purchase? Do you see a time like that in the future?
Well, the answer to that would be, first, I would initially want to say no. But then when you think about it again and see how we sort of adapted and how we're a very adaptable set of people as Nigerians. But I think that if we're going to go cashless in Nigeria, as in the way you're describing, it may not be a function of POS machines. It may actually be a function of phones. It may be a function of pre-orders. It may be a system that is totally different from what we know it as right now. Because I'm not sure that it's just that whole downfall conductor. That means he will still be collecting everybody's cash. But there was a time when in Lagos, when you go to University of Lagos, when you want to go into their shuttle buses, you actually have your card that you swipe. And even for BRT,
there's a carry card. Yes.
So you find that those systems may be things that may eventually come to play at a more advanced level. But what it simply means is that technology is going to play a big role in what society is going to be like. And maybe it's time for Nigeria to actually step up to the game with how other countries are. But this way of easing it in may not have been the best way. There could have been, we have sensitization, we have a national agency for NOI, we have our orientation agencies,
yes.
NOA,
yes.
And those the orientation agencies and other bodies, private sector as well, should actually be engaged to say, okay, this is what we're doing, put a plan in place, and then orientate people and let them be aware of what is going to happen and how it's going to be faced, but not the sudden push, not this uncertainty. Is it for politicians? Is it for cashless? It just creates a sense of confusion, which is not good for a nation of over 200 million people.
Absolutely. All right, let's deal with our last story here for today, which is the upcoming governorship election. But before we talk about that, let's play some video. We had our camera crew go out during the presidential election and talk to 1 or 2 people about their experience at the polling units. So let's watch a video or 2, and after that, we'll talk about the upcoming governorship election.
Pertaining to last 8 years election, this year the youth are willing to cast their votes. I can see the youth really came out, because I was surprised that people that came this year, like people that even have voters card, had to go extra mile to get their voters card, because everybody can see the pains that is going through the country. The country is not easy, but I wish everybody just vote wisely, because the situation of the country now is not about you selling your votes or you voting for tradition or tribe. We are just voting for our future, voting for what's going to benefit for the youth. And for me, I'm voting for the right choice. So I can't say I'm voting for A or B. I'm just voting for who I know is fit for the candidate.
By the way things are going, basically people are tired of what's happening now, and they decided to come out and to vote in order to change the system, for a better Nigeria. I think, in my own opinion, I had the intention of coming to vote so that my vote will count for the right person I think will lead.
In 2019, 2015, they always buy people with money. If you came here to vote, someone who just came from nowhere, I will give you 3 times, vote for my candidate. But this time around, nothing like that. Vote for your own personal candidate. You feel like it's going to help Nigeria, because what you want now is a good candidate. It's a change. At the moment, we do something more normal by changing the naira.
The officials, I would say, okay, I think they are doing a job well done, because they gave us orientation. They addressed what we are to expect and what to do. But for the machine, it didn't capture me as a female. I don't know why. It's saying I'm a male. So for that, I would say they need to work on that. So, and then the environment seems safe. It's fine.
The officials, they are doing well. They have to follow all instructions so that they will not make mistakes and put themselves in problems. The area is very calm, no problem. The electorate are behaving very well. As you can see, we are all on queue and we are doing our civic duty.
So that was Nigerians out doing their civic duty last Saturday. Now, Tunde, next Saturday is the governorship and state assembly elections. What do you look forward to for that?
Many upsets.
Upsets?
Yes.
Upsets?
Yeah. Really. Some governors are not comfortable.
How do you see Lagos State, the big one?
That'll be a very tough battle.
Because after all, Labour won the presidential in Lagos.
Or what that came out last week would not make the present ruling party comfortable. So they really need to work hard. They really need to work hard. People have made up their mind and you can't change the mind. And once they say they are going like this, not the norm that before that, okay, we own Lagos and this is what the way it goes. But this one is going to be a different battle. It's going to be a big battle. In other states too, some governors should be ready for an upset, because the will of the people is against the wish of whoever that thinks is their right to govern.
Editor, how do you see the governorship elections this Saturday?
Like Tony has rightly said, it's going to be keenly contested, and people are determined that we're not going to take things as they were. It's also unfortunate that a lot of the governors that, especially, let's not cause, a lot of the governors feel that we can put up all the scorecards and we can do a lot of digital pictures and say things are going. And people are telling that the roads I'm passing are not motorable. Things are hard. We haven't seen any real development or change. And then you tell us you are doing some things. So gone are the days that's where you could just say whatever you wanted to say, or you could come up with big projects and implement them, and it favors a different sort of people. And when the elections come, you go again, like one of the videos was saying, they want to put there, say, oh, give us some money and then go away. This coming elections, like I would advise that everybody be really prepared to watch their backs as this election, because it's going to be a really tough one.
Well, thank you very much. A big thank you to my panelists today. And what I'm hearing in terms of the upcoming elections on Saturday, what they're basically saying, as you know, the numbers actually dropped in terms of the number of voters that voted in the presidential election. But it seems like even though there are fewer people voting, they're voting with more sense. They're voting with more consciousness, they're voting with more awareness, and they're making choices that relate to their well-being and to their future. So we look forward to this Saturday's election. We encourage all Nigerians to go out and do their civic duty. Let's try and get the numbers up. I think 20-something odd million out of 76 million registered voters is an abysmal percentage. So I'm hoping we can get the numbers up. I believe that the state government is closer to the people, so the people feel more, that their lives are more intertwined with the state government. So perhaps we'll see a better turnout this Saturday than we did in the presidential election. So let's all get out there and vote for the candidate of our choice, and we look forward to building a Nigeria of our dreams. Thank you for joining us on this edition of What's Your Take? I am Dayo Akintobi. See you next time.